Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we've got a special guest for you. We're going to be joined by the president of Airship AI. This company, as the name implies, is involved in the AI intelligence space, and they just started a big delivery for a US government contract in the month of December. Now before we get into all that, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let me know in the comments section below if you're currently holding shares of Airship, what you think about their business model, and your outlook for 2024. Now with that being said, let's get into today's interview. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we've got the president of Airship AI, Paul Allen, joining us. This is a super exciting company. They're just about to list, or just did list, on the NASDAQ. And obviously AI has been all the rage this year. So Paul, really excited to have you here. And thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. A pleasure to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Right on. So before we get into it, I got to give you guys some kudos. I cover hundreds of companies. The Airship logo, I absolutely love the company logo. So I'll give you kudos for that right out of the gate. But for people who maybe aren't familiar with the company Airship AI Holdings, can you give us a high-level summary of yourself and what this organization's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just kind of start with the logo because it is a constant source of discussion. It's a great conversation starter. A lot of people come up and, ask us whether we're a blimp or an aerosat company. And so it actually works well from that perspective. But we actually, chose the logo because early on, from a modern warfare perspective, blimps or balloons were some of the earliest forms of surveillance on the battlefield or in the battle space. So that's really kind of the origination of the logo itself. But myself personally, I come from kind of a mix of a corporate and military background. So overall, I spent just under 30 years in the Army Special Operations community. I'm retired as a Green Beret. So that piece alone for me, I bring in a really strong personal interest in how we're leveraging technology and AI to go out and solve problems, for those people on the front line. And, in our space, whether that's a first responder, law enforcement, or military, really it's any of these folks that are out there fighting some really interesting and unique challenges. And obviously there to keep us safe and to protect the homeland. So that's my real personal interest in this, leveraging some of my corporate experience in some other larger companies, and then bringing that business perspective to layer on top of it. And it's just the perfect combination of the two pieces for myself. For Airship, we've been around just about 15 years, and I've been here just a little over 7. So we're unique from our perspective in that we're a bootstrap funded company. So we've done everything ourselves. We've never taken outside investment, VC investment. And really what that then has forced us to do is to be very efficient in terms of how we approach, financial literacy and being smart with our money, not getting too far ahead on our skis, making sure that we can always run as an organic business, reinvesting back into our business and, some of the areas that we think are really important. And certainly right now, AI is a critical one. So a lot of our investments back into our business, and let's call it the last couple of years, have really been all about how do we leverage what we're already doing for our customers, and then add AI on top of that to make, that message and the solutions that we provide for them more effective and more efficient.
Gotcha. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much for the service, and that's an impressive military background. 30 years is quite the record. On top of that, I really liked what you said about the fiscal prudency there and building the business from the ground up, being really aware of where you're spending your money and investing your time and energy. So that's great. I wanted to spend some time. I know you mentioned you've got first responders, you've got military, various different business units. So we're going to look at that as well. But this week in particular is exceptionally exciting for Airship because you guys just went public on the NASDAQ under the ticker AISP. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Obviously a major milestone for any company. What does this mean for the business and what's kind of the next step from here, I guess?
Yeah, no, look, great question. Obviously incredibly exciting. So, one of the most common questions that we're getting, just because of the way that we've really built the business, is why we're going public. If we're profitable and we're successful as a private company, why would we take that next step? And really the biggest reason is financial transparency. So when we're going out and competing, and historically, let's say we've competed on, $250,000, $500,000, maybe $1 million deals, the government is a little bit more easy to do business with. But if now we're competing on $5 million, $10 million, $25 million contracts, the government wants to make sure, hey, who this company is, they're going to be around tomorrow. It's not just them telling us that they're healthy and they're sustainable, but, whether it's the NASDAQ or the SEC or whoever, they're using Wall Street as basically the validation of, hey, this is a company, they've got their act together, all their information is out there in the public domain. We can feel more comfortable, putting our name behind them, that we're going to take their solution to go solve some of our challenges. So namely, that is the biggest reason, why we're going down this path. And we chose the SPAC route versus the IPO route. In a lot of cases, just for expediency purposes, to be able to go on ahead and effect this transition as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And really, from that perspective, what makes us unique in the SPAC world is that we're a real company with flagship customers, whether it's the military, the intelligence community, the commercial sector. We've shown profitability year over year. We're not, this company that's got just a mountain of debt, a bunch of VCs and other folks that, are looking to get the recovery. And, we don't need a tremendous amount of money out of the process to continue the business. So we feel that makes us really unique. And we think that that's something that should get investors, whether they're institutional or retail, excited about where we're headed.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, and I think the excitement level is definitely there. Now, I was going to ask a question about what's kind of differentiated your company from other AI intelligence organizations. So I think we can kind of address this in part of the next one as well. So I was on the website, I was taking a look through the business, and you guys have really separated into three kind of key pillars. So you've got Acropolis, Command, and Outpost. So obviously this is one of the points of differentiation, those various different revenue streams. So can you talk to us a little bit about how the company's set up and what each one of these business units really does?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other key points I think, that it's important to mention is we are a U.S.-based company. We're headquartered out of Redmond, Washington. So our developers, our support, our engineering team, everybody is here in the U.S. And that's critical importance to the government when we look at how we go to market and, the Chinese threat and a lot of the other folks that are historically involved in some of these spaces that are now banned from playing in this space. So our historical product set is what we're calling Acropolis. And really think of this in the data management world is the back end and the plumbing. It's not the most sexy piece of the code base, but this is the part of the code base that allows us to move data from point A to point B, take it from a camera, let's say hanging on a street post, at any major intersection, any major city, getting it back over whatever your backhaul is to a back-end platform, whether that's in the cloud or a data center, we're really agnostic, but getting it back to that point, allowing somebody then to say, okay, this is what I really need out of the video or that data. This is what's usable, and then pushing it out to that actual consumer. So Acropolis really is this piece of code base that we've been building up and turning into this federated enterprise platform, let's call it over the last 10 to 12 years. From there, once we really built out that back end, then we started looking at the edge. And the edge has always been a challenge for anybody in this space, where because of either a lack of technology, call it 4G to 5G, that's a huge piece of the why now in the transition. But we were also an early adopter with NVIDIA on their edge platform, Jetson, and that basically allowed us to build a really small, purpose-built form factor device that could do not just efficient encoding and encryption of video and data at the edge, but do the analysis at the edge. So that's really what Outpost or Outpost AI is this little, form factor appliance sits on top of a camera or a sensor at the edge. And instead of taking data from that camera or sensor, pushing it back across the network at maybe a lower bit rate, I can actually do all of my analysis right there at the edge against the most the highest quality video, highest quality data stream that we've got. So that's really the strength and the power of what we're doing out there at the edge. So better, more efficient data analysis and structuring leads to better real-time decisions on things that are occurring out at the edge versus waiting to get data from the edge back to the core, trying to analyze it, look at it, and pushing it out. Now I can do it in almost near real time.
Really interesting.
That's kind of how the edge talks back to the core.
Yeah, for sure. No, very interesting stuff. So the command and the outpost, is that the edge and the core now?
Nope. So Outpost is our edge device.
Okay.
And Outpost comes back to Acropolis, which is the core. And then Command is our suite of visualization tools. So whether that you're on an iPhone or an Android device, an iPad or your laptop, whatever your means of visualization are, we've got applications that run across all of those different footprints. And that's where, let's say, take a common scenario, you're out at dinner and you get an alarm on your phone that there's motion at your front door. Think about that tool that you're looking at on your phone to see that event. That's the visualization tool. Our versions of those tools are Command. It's the way that you actually get the outputs of the analytic or structured data that came from the edge through our core platform.
Sure, makes sense. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, it's so interesting to see how this is all evolving in the space and big data and AI, and obviously security is paramount as you alluded to earlier there. Now, the next question, you talked about some of these government contracts, and from a retail investor perspective, those are just music to my ears, right? They're long-term, they're recurring revenue, they're solid contracts. Now, this month specifically, you had some exciting news or big news that you started delivery. I think it was a $10.9 million US government contract. So tell us about that. That's got to feel great for you and the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started executing on that, and really we're already in the shipping phase of that this month, that was for two different contracts from a single customer within Department of Homeland Security. And both sides of those contracts heavily leverage our Outpost AI device. And really it's all about a customer that's already got our backend Acropolis and Command product sets, and now they're adding Outpost AI to their inventory, and they're applying it to solutions that they put out at the edge. And that could be on the border, that could be on checkpoints or other deployment scenarios that they've got where there's already data being collected, and now they want to do more analysis of it out at the point of collection rather than bringing it back and trying to do that further analysis, as well as adding security and encryption to that data so that it's maybe not coming across a cellular modem or some other type of backhaul, but it's not now, previously it may not have been protected. Now it's all encrypted. And there's a lot more security around that, especially when we look at, the non-nation state actors and other folks like that that are very interested in, things that we're doing from a homeland security and a border protection.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I was saying off camera there at the start, I've got two little kids now, so I feel like my whole lens of the world is safety, security now that I'm a dad. So it's great work that you guys are doing, and obviously harnessing AI to interpret a lot of this information is just the smart move to make. Now, in addition to that big US contract and everything else we've kind of talked about, the uplisting to NASDAQ and all the rest, what would you say are some other kind of near-term catalysts or start of 2024 that investors or viewers should keep an eye on?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we talked about, this piece around financial transparency is huge. So a lot of our competitors are some of the really large traditional defense contractors. So, we say all the time, we fight outside our weight class where we're going up against a General Dynamics or a Boeing or a Lockheed, and we are very much under the radar, and much of that, historically has been by design, where because of the nature of who we're working for and what we're doing, we don't necessarily want to advertise it. And, we're going to continue to be very smart about what we put out in the public domain in terms of who our customers are and maybe exactly what they're doing or how they're using it. So that's a little bit of our transition as we go public. But that's the exciting piece is, we've got a lot of these customers that we've spent, let's call it the last 3 to 4 years, building a bunch of pilot opportunities, deploying some technology in some specific niche spaces to make sure they understand how it gets used and how it can be used. And really, a land and expand strategy is where we're at. We've landed in a bunch of places. So as we go into 24 and 25, a lot of this is expansion within those existing customers. We've gone through a lot of the traditional barriers to entry. We're approved to run on their networks. We've gone through some very extensive cybersecurity testing and hardening of the platform. So those kind of pieces are really what's going to be huge. Becoming FedRAMP High certified to run for some of our government agencies was a huge barrier to entry and is a barrier to entry for others. So a lot of our moat and our differentiation is around this work we've been doing over the last 3 to 4 years. And then now over the next, call it 12 to 24 months, we're going to go start expanding on that and really driving home a lot of those opportunities and growing into some of those much larger contracts.
Yeah, it's a good point, I suppose, with the government. Once you've got your foot in the door, it's a lot easier to upsell, cross-sell than a new company coming into the space, which, as you said, is a great barrier to entry or protection for Airship AI. And I was going to say earlier, if you're going up against bigger companies, no one better than someone with 30 years military experience to bring in the fight. So that's great, Paul. Now, before we wrap things up, I just wanted to flip it back to you. If there's anything maybe we missed or any business or updates that we didn't hit in today's discussion.
Yeah, no, I think for everything that, we can kind of talk about today, we've certainly covered it. From our perspective, certainly there'll be plenty more to be coming out, as we, start this transition and, start working in the markets as a publicly traded company. There's a lot of exciting stuff that I think will be coming out across the board. So certainly for your viewers, we would definitely encourage you to, add us to your ticker list and follow us and, keep an eye out for some exciting stuff because there's a lot to be done. And, unfortunately, the world's not getting any safer. So the need for the kind of solutions and technologies we provide are only just going to continue to grow, unfortunately.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like you say, it is unfortunate, but the need's there. And that's the great opportunity for companies like yours. So, Paul, we really appreciate your time. I understand you're obviously very busy this week, so it means a lot that you'd come on here. We look forward to following those updates. You're more than welcome to come back as things kind of progress into 2024. We'll leave the new ticker and company information linked in the video description below so people can check it out. If you're still watching the video, hopefully you found some value. Make sure you hit the like button, you guys. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. And Paul, thanks so much for being here today. We look forward to talking again.
Bryce, likewise, thank you.
Take care.